you consider Lord Shiva to be the highest Vaishnava Namyata Shambhu, why don't we celebrate festivals like Mahashivaratri? And there are so many acharyas whose appearance and disappearance is mentioned almost over 100 in the Vaishnava calendar. And yet Lord Shiva is not included in that. Answer: let's look at it from three different perspectives. The Vaishnava calendar basically was largely an adoption from the Gaudiya calendar, and the Gaudiya Mutt largely existed in Bengal, and in many ways, as the organization of Gaudiya Mutt was solidified, it adopted many of the festivals that were locally being celebrated in Bengal. That's why we have Katyayani Puja included within the Vaishnava calendar. Now, who celebrates Katyayani Puja? Well, in ISKCON no one celebrates, although it's there in the calendar. And that is a legacy, you could say, fossil from the past, or artifact or whatever. But it's no longer really dynamic. So there has been various calendar committees within our movement to see what all modifications should be done in the calendar and what all should be continued. So this is the idea. The calendar is we should not see it as scripture. The calendar is basically a circumstantial record of what festivals were considered significant, and what is considered significant will evolve with time. There are many places in India where often in the temples Shivaratri is celebrated, and so that's a part of the calendar. Second is that with respect to why Lord Shiva will not worshipped, or rather Lord Shiva's festivals are not mentioned. See, within the tradition, there has been historical change, possibly in response to circumstances, about how the devatas have been approached. In the Ramayana and the Mahabharata, there is quite a nonchalant acceptance of the worship of the devatas in quite a respectful mode, done by even the main characters who may be Vaishnavas. So who worships which deity is not a big issue at all. In the Mahabharata, just as the Vishnu Sahasranam is there, Shiva Sahasranam is also there. And over the centuries, especially as the Vaishnava Sampradaya started getting solidified, the Panchopasana was introduced by Shankaracharya, which had his valid historical reasons that the whole followers of the Vedic path were to be consolidated in one group. But the result of that was there started being some confusion about the interrelationship between devatas and the idea of who is supreme and how the worship of one being should be connected with or related with other beings. So in the Sampradayas, they started manifesting a sharp demarcation that we should worship only this deity and not other deities at all. there are some traditional sampradayas and they will never go to a Shiva temple at all, and if they go even by mistake, they'll fast. It's almost a bit of the adoption of a Christian value system. Not exactly adoption of Christian, but similar to that. There is the Lord is our husband, and a woman will not go to another man's house. So I know some modern Vaishnava leaders who will go for interfaith meetings to mosques and churches, but will not go to Shiva temple. So Mahaprabhu did not encourage that kind or exemplify that kind of region demarcation. When he went to Bhubaneswar, he went to the temple of Lord Shiva. And now within ISKCON, so that's the second part, that there's a time for demarcation was at a particular time, and that has gone to certain levels that may be considered extreme by some people, along with some justification for that extreme level also. So if we go to the other side, we may consider that every tradition lives in a particular environment, and within that environment it has to connect with the people. So as our movement is becoming more and more mainstream, and we are seen as one of the leading Hindu organizations, so sometimes we also respond to that. So we may also celebrate Mahashivaratri, and we may focus on talking about the glories of Lord Shiva within the framework that we understand. So there is a certain deference to local customs that is important. Mahaprabhu did not really support the idea that Haridas Thakur not be allowed in the temple, but he did not rebel against that idea also. He accepted and highly respected Haridas Thakur, but he didn't fight with the temple management to allow him to be entered. So like that, there is a certain level of deference, and that has to be deference to local customs. So not everything in a living tradition is monolithic. So depending on the dynamics of particular places and the decision of the leaders at particular places, they may decide to celebrate certain festivals or not celebrate certain festivals. And we as individuals also have to define our relationship with the institution. So we may have certain cultural sensibilities coming from our background, we may have some expectations from our relatives. So depending on all that, we may decide how we want to go ahead in our spiritual life. There is room for adaptation in that, and that's why there is the idea that there are principles and there are details. These are details exactly which festival is celebrated with how much emphasis, or which is not celebrated at all. The details which can be adjusted according to time, place, circumstance.